wanted to watch that new Kevin Bacon horror movie, You Should Have Left. But then, after I thought of that, kind of got this weird message. I don't know what that's about, but we'll figure it out. So, You Should Have Left is a new movie written and directed by David Koepp, and it stars Kevin Bacon and Amanda Seyfried. They play a couple who, they have your typical couple issues, but they decide to move to a new house in Wales with their very young daughter, and weird things begin happening in this house, and it may be related to Kevin Bacon's past and all that. Now, I had no idea this movie was coming out. I just read about it online. It's like, oh, it was going to be out in theaters, but then they decided to release it online, of course. So, and David Koepp, I haven't really seen too many of his movies. I know he directed Secret Window, Premium Rush. I haven't seen those movies. Maybe I'll check them out eventually. But I know he's written a few movies, including the first Spider-Man movie. But he's also written Indiana Jones 4, so hit or miss. And I did not watch a single trailer for this movie. I did not look up the synopsis of this movie. Hell, I didn't even remember the title of this movie. It was like, You Should Have Left. And it just seemed so generic, and I kind of just switched around some of the words, like, you need to leave, or something ridiculous, and it took me a while to remember the title. It's like, You Should Have Left. So I eventually watched it, and I shouldn't have watched it. So, is there anything good here? Well, not really, unfortunately. The design of the house is interesting. The long hallways are really fascinating as well, and the movie admittedly does have some really good ideas about that. Like, Kevin Bacon's turning off all these lights, and it takes him about 4 hours to do, and he doesn't really notice it. It's like, that's actually really interesting. I hope the movie develops that a bit more. Do they? Of course not. The acting overall is not terrible by any means. I know Kevin Bacon and Amanda Seyfried, they're capable actors. And they just seem like a weird couple to me, like, age-wise. So that just made it a little uncomfortable overall. And I think that's the problem with this movie. But the problem with this movie mostly is that it's not fully realized. Like I mentioned, the hallways, that's actually a really cool idea, and like how it can, affect time. They don't really go about that because they're focusing on Kevin Bacon's past throughout this entire movie. And you're kind of thinking that, so it's really him that's haunted, or it's the house that's really haunted, or whatever. And neither one is really resolved, I feel like. Or the stuff that is resolved is like, yeah, I kind of saw that coming, unfortunately. The main twist in the movie, it's very obvious. If you've ever seen a movie, you would kind of see the twist coming no matter what. And like I said, the acting isn't terrible. The problem with the movie is that they're also very underwritten as well. Like, Amanda Seyfried is the wife. She's very concerned in certain scenes. And she actually disappears for about halfway through the movie. Won't explain why. Kevin Bacon, he's not really that good, unfortunately. He's kind of stoic in this entire movie. And it's trying to make you think, like, he's kind of going crazy because of the house and what's going on. But I never really felt that. It was just odd. It really was. A lot of exposition is delivered out awkwardly. Like, instead of, like, being on, like, news or something like that, it's Amanda Seyfried gives us exposition by telling their daughter about Kevin Bacon's past. And I won't go into detail about that, but it's like, that's gotta be really, really lazy. Something else, too. I mentioned this a lot this year, especially with horror movies like The Turning, Gretel and Hansel, Fantasy Island, dream sequences. There's a lot of dream sequences in this movie. In fact, the movie opens with 2 back-to-back dream sequences. The minute I saw that, I knew we were in trouble. And I'm like, God. The best way to describe this movie is like, it has a mishmash of its own ideas and never really develops them. And it takes ideas from other movies and tries to do them in their own way, which is really the same way as these movies. I just shouldn't have watched this. I really shouldn't have. I was not scared throughout this entire movie. The acting wasn't that great. The writing wasn't that great. Again, cool ideas, just never really fully realized. If this wasn't written by someone who... this was like if I went to Blumhouse and said, this is my screenplay, I want to do this movie, I would be rejected right away. But since David Koepp is an accomplished screenwriter and director, kind of, he can do whatever he wants. And he wants to do this generic, poorly made, poorly influenced movie, I would say. I'll give You Should Have Left 1 out of 4 stars. Skip it. So, what's your least favorite horror movie this year? Or what's your favorite haunted house movie? Comment down below, subscribe to the channel. This is Pat, and stay safe.